Okay, now we're getting somewhere. All right, now that we're doing this, let me get this name changed here. Finally, having some technical difficulties getting this thing started. I hate inanimate objects when they don't do what they're programmed to do. Save. All right. I've got that. All right. Now, let me share this and this. All right. Make sure I got all this stuff in the right vessels. There's that. All right, that's all I need for that. Now let me go here and set up audio. Bring in the song. Get out of that. $350. All right. Are we good here? Is this, yeah. Okay. So, every time it seems, I remember when, I was very involved in church growing up. And I remember one of the most popular analogies that was used. Oh, not that. Sorry. One of the most popular analogies that was used in church was that when people would say, "Oh, I'm just doing everything right. You know, I'm praying, I'm coming to church, I'm living righteous, and all this jazz. But man, my life just doesn't seem to be working out the way that it is." And I know that the preacher would always say, the devil don't want you when you're on his side. Only when you're not doing what he wants you to do will he come in. We're not going to talk about church in this one other than the first few seconds, and I apologize for that if you've already started to lose lose faith in this talk. See what I did there? But it's true that only when things are going right do things that go wrong seem so immensely wrong. And I don't know why that is, but I think the rest of the Myrtle Beach area is sort of feeling the brunt of that right now, or not necessarily brunt, but just are experiencing something very similar to that analogy right now. the Myrtle Beach area really came together in a big way, as you guys heard in the last episode with Scott and Lynn. And really pulled together in a huge way to take care of the people who are displaced because of this storm that we just got. And apparently there's another one that's coming that's going to be on the other side of Florida that's going to crawl across, apparently, as it towards the end of the week. But after everybody did just these amazing things and we got to hear the story of Jarrett Hucks, and Jarrett Hucks, I couldn't remember your name last time, buddy, and I'm really sorry for that because you deserve the most respect. But uh-oh, we got something coming through. But anyway, after all the good news from Brother Jarrett Hucks and how everybody in the community really pulled together to help each other out. Things just going great, and we're very proud of our community. And we even talked the other day, myself and Scott Mann and Lynn were talking about just how, Myrtle Beach is not just a non-safe place. It's not a place that's not safe, and it's like Scott even made the point, like, I don't see that there's anything anywhere in the city where I wouldn't go, where I was like, man, I don't think I'd go there. And he's pretty accurate on that. There's really not a lot of areas in the city of Myrtle Beach where, if you're in this area and it's like, maybe something may go wrong. But there is a place on Ocean Boulevard called Riptides. It's right next to a joint called the Tin Roof, which, am I going to go on a Tin Roof rant now that I just said that? See, I'm sorry. I'm having these thoughts, I'm having these thoughts, and they're a little bit easier to deal with right now. But the last episode I did by myself was a doozy, and for those who know me closely, probably know why. But for those who do not, you may can put two and two together and figure out what was going on in that episode. But it's easier for me to process thoughts than this one is what I'm getting at. And I'm probably going to go on a rant on Tin Roof here in a little bit, and I apologize for that in advance. But this little joint called Riptides is right up there right near Tin Roof where I played music and never will again. There was a shooting last night, and well, I'm just going to read this article. This is an article from Myrtle Beach Online, and Riptides is an oceanfront bar. It's literally, if I'm not mistaken, Riptides may be it's like literally next to Tin Roof. I can walk into Riptides from the elevator that gets me up to the Tin Roof. So this is literally just a stone's throw away from a place that I once upon a time was regularly. So I'm just going to read this article here real quick. A Myrtle Beach native is dead, and police say they have a person in custody following a shooting at Riptides early Sunday morning. The victim was Roger Ramos, 25, friends said. The Horry County Coroner's Office confirmed Ramos dead of a gunshot wound. Officer radio traffic indicated the victim was shot in the head. About 1:15 a.m., authorities responded to a shooting at Riptide's Oceanfront Grill, blah, blah, blah address, according to the police department. The police investigation determined a fight started in the bar and a man fired a gun, hitting the victim. The victim died in the shooting, according to the department. I'm never going to see my friend again, said Daniel Stoller. Man, I'm sorry. This is just awful, and I don't even want to keep reading this anymore. And they were there. Okay, I read now that they're there to watch the UFC match. Me and Scott, man, had a conversation off camera, and I'm sure he won't mind me saying this. We had a conversation off camera a while back about the worst of the worst in entertainment. And the thing, and I said that I believe that football represented the worst of what Americans are. And I'll explain that. And as I'm saying that, I have football on TV right now. I love football. Don't get me wrong. I love watching football, but it represents the struggle. You know, you have to physically overpower somebody else to gain yards, and you have to physically overpower somebody. And I just don't agree with that concept. And as a matter of fact, I was at Tito's the other night, and I might have said this. There were these two guys standing on the porch, just like arguing with each other. Two buddies, two friends, and they're arguing with each other. And I'm like, guys, this is not what intelligent people do. This is not how smart people handle situations. This is an ignorant solution to a problem that you have. You need to talk these things out rather than try to physically overpower somebody. And I 100% believe in that. Football is that. Football is the struggle. Every single snap is a struggle. Every single play is a physical struggle. And that's just awful. That's an awful thought, to think that everything that you do in your life is going to be a physical struggle, and that's just horrible. Scott countered that instead of football being what represents the worst of all humanity, that it could very well, it is probably UFC and MMA. And don't get me wrong, I also enjoy watching these things too. I watched that crazy nonsense that went on last night, which we're also going to talk about at some point through this. So this may not be as short of a talk as I thought it was going to be. But anyway, they were there watching this UFC fight, and apparently people can't deal with watching. Fuck, I'll watch Dexter kill people all day and then go walk up and down the aisles of Walmart and be like, these motherfuckers thinking I'm a serial killer. But I'm not. You know, I don't have it in me to do things like that. And I don't know, man. These people just watch this UFC fight and now they're like, okay, well, I want to play this game. I could do what they just did. That's bullshit. It's idiotic. It's childish. And I don't understand it. But beside the point, all of these great things that were going on in the area, and people pulling together and people coming together to help each other, and this is just a beautiful thing that has been going on. And that word beautiful came up a lot in the podcast that we did with Scott and Lynn. And out of all of this beauty, all of these negative things happen, and we're not even done with the negativity. And I'm really sorry. I know Richard Squires, I talked to you last night, buddy, and I know you sent me a message and you were like, man, I need more of the good things, more of the good news, and more of those things in my life. And I 100% agree, but as I feel like, for lack of a better term, my journalistic integrity cannot be questioned by me not addressing these things that have gone on. And I really apologize for airing out this stuff in this, but it's something that bothers me. And you guys have listened long enough to know that I have to talk about things that bother me, or they will build up into something else that they are not. And anyway, that's beside the point. There's just so much negativity that has followed all of these beautiful things that have happened. Not only did a gentleman lose his life last night in a shooting at Riptides, but also an officer and several other officers, I'm pretty sure, I could be getting this wrong. As a matter of fact, I may need to do some fact checking here. Um, so there was another shooting in Florence, and this shit just keeps getting so much worse. An officer was killed. Terrence Caraway, 52, an officer with the Florence Police Department for nearly 31 years, died from his wounds. 3 deputies and 1 city police officer remained in critical condition on Friday afternoon. So I tell you the ending of that story because there was a guy who I'm not going to name I'm not going to advance his name at all, was being investigated for sexual assault claims. He was a Vietnam vet, and I said that wrong. I apologize. The son of this guy the son of this Vietnam vet had been accused of assaulting a child and deputies with a search warrant in hand wanted to speak to him. But they never made it through the front door of the sprawling 6,500 square foot home. So apparently this guy's dad is sitting in this house waiting for the cops to show up, which they knew were coming, with a high-powered rifle. Apparently this guy brags on Facebook about how good he is at shooting. He shot from the second story of the house. The cops got out of the car and they were shot before they got to the door. You see, and me and Scott, man, and I keep referencing Scott in this one, because a lot of these things that are happening right now, me and Scott have had conversations about guns and things. We feel the same way about guns. I personally, and I have family and friends, and I grew up shooting. Like I grew up shooting sport. You know, I didn't really go hunting or anything like that. I did go hunting. I never killed anything. You know, I never shot a deer. I never really killed another animal. I've killed birds, and but like nothing past birds and quail and such. But I believe that guns represent the weakness of all humanity. Guns were invented out of weakness. You guys have heard me say this more times than not, more times than I can count for sure. But right after this hurricane comes through and rips through our state and our neighboring state, and we deal with all this flooding and everybody coming in together to do fantastic things to help each other out and restore faith in humanity, as my buddy Richard said, some shit like this happens, and now we are right back where we were when an officer responding to a routine check on this guy, and here's something. Apparently, this dude was in a very prestigious community, and like big house, gated community, and the son of this guy, who is, how old was this guy? I've already closed out that article. The kid was in his 20s, and he's out here doing whatever it is he's doing and gets accused of assaulting a child. And this dad's like, oh, you're not going to take my son. Basically, you're not coming anywhere. You're not coming anywhere near us. I'm just going to shoot you. That's how this is going to work. How is that an option? And the reason that I bring up that this is a prestigious community or whatever, or not necessarily a prestigious community, but like a gated community or whatever, is these guys have money. These folks have money. And not to rip on rich people or folks who have money, but do you really feel like that? You feel like that's how this works? Like you think that, oh, my child didn't do anything. My child didn't do this wrong. Like we're not those kind of people. We don't do things like that because we have this sort of a life. But apparently, the sort of guy who will spawn someone who will pretty much do things to a child are the same kind of people who will shoot a cop. And that's just bullshit. I don't get it. I don't understand how people have that in them. I don't understand or want to know why people choose to do something so fucking idiotic. And excuse my language, but seriously, how do you think that this is okay, that this will solve your problems? This guy is up on a second story of a house shooting at cops who are coming to the house to uphold the law. Like, and you think that this is going to be over? You think that that's how this is going to end like that? What kind of person does that? What kind of person goes and watches a UFC fight at a bar and decides, okay, well, now I'm going to fight? Oh, well, somebody's getting the better of me. Okay, well, now I'm going to pull a gun out. And now someone is dead. And now all of that good work and all of the good vibes and all of the good things that have happened and all of the grand gestures that have been made about Myrtle Beach and our area of being not the sort of place that people, like, not the sort of place that's unsafe, and we've gotten a bad rap, and this is not who we really are, and this is not what we're really about. When we worked so hard to get that message across over the last couple of weeks after this hurricane and this travesty that so many families in this area have endured, and now we're right back where we were. National news story. Person shot at Boulevard Bar in a rooftop bar in Myrtle Beach. When will it stop? I've said in so many episodes I always end up getting back to the same point. And I'm not going to apologize for repeating myself this time, Cheese, because it's necessary. When is enough enough? When are we going to get to a point in our human race when we realize, you know what? This is just not worth it. Putting somebody in a situation like this is not worth it. Taking somebody's life and you having to continue to live with knowing that you've taken somebody else's life is not worth taking that life. It's not worth having the thought to do that. It's just everything has the potential to be just fantastic all the time. Everything can just be great all the time if everybody would just get close to the same page. I'm not saying that guns should be taken away. That's preposterous. It's an idiotic notion, and I apologize. I know I have a lot of friends who will disagree with me on this, and they think that just guns don't need to exist, but it's too late for that at this point. I've said before, I'll say again, if you try to take the guns away, the people who are going to turn over their guns are the people that you want to keep them. And the folks who are going to keep their guns are the ones that you don't want to have them. So what you're going to be doing is you're going to be disarming the people who you do not want to disarm. You need to keep guns in the hands of people who will protect you when you need to be protected. And those are the kind of people who are going to probably turn them over if the law tells them to, because they're the law-abiding citizens. And I know I've said that several times, but it bears repeating. And I also am not saying that people shouldn't be allowed to carry guns. I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with a person being able, like a person who has a concealed weapons permit. I don't disagree with somebody who has taken the courses and have experienced the proper background checks. And I think that people should be mentally evaluated to be able to own guns. And I don't think that should be a problem. I don't think that people on average would disagree with that on either side of the coin. And I just don't get how somebody literally can go out into the world and think, and like shooting somebody is an option. Like, you have a pistol in your pocket. Are you going out into the world saying, I'm going to shoot somebody with this today? Or are you going out in the world saying, I'm going to prevent somebody from doing something stupid? I'm going to save people today. There are two types of gun owners in the world, I just realized in my mind, I guess. There are the type of people who own a gun to shoot something, and there are the type of people who own a gun to protect something. And that protection doesn't necessarily stem to the point where you're getting in a fight at a bar and you're drunk. Drunk people, a gun has no place in a bar. There should be zero guns in a bar. There should be no guns where alcohol is involved. People drink alcohol and people get fucking dumb. People get stupid. And I can say that because I was that person for a long time. I was the dummy out drinking every single night. And not calling people who go out and drink every night a dummy. I'm talking about myself. I'm wheezing. I need some water. But I'm not, and like I said, I'm not calling everybody who goes out and drinks a dummy. You're not. But listen, I know that I was when I was living that life. I was a dummy. I was an idiot. I would not have wanted somebody who was in the mental state that I got into every single night to have a gun. It's just not safe. It's not sane. It's not normal. It's just this is your option. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Leaving your house with a gun results in shit like this. I know that this podcast doesn't reach very far, and I don't have a lot of listeners, and there's not a lot of people out there who will hear me say this ever. Maybe not at all. But if anybody out there ever does stumble across this podcast, please don't do stupid shit like this. Don't leave your house with a gun. Why would you do this? Why is this an option? Don't go, let me backtrack a little bit. Don't leave your house with a gun with intentions of like, well, this is just, I'm going to go out and I'm going to shoot somebody. I'm sure that that's not what this guy was thinking. He's like, well, why else do you have a gun in your pocket? If you're going to a bar to a UFC fight, with all the shit that's been going on lately, why do you need a gun? I feel like Craig's dad now. If I'd have known you needed a gun just to walk your friend home, I'd have never moved in this neighborhood. Are we there? Is that just, am I the one who's stuck? Am I the one who doesn't want to move forward with this? Am I the one who's struggling with the thought that the world is just different now? That maybe people do need a gun when they leave their house because of things like this? But then, okay, plug this in. Here's something I just thought about. What if this guy pulls a gun out? Bad guy. Bad guy who killed this dude is bad guy. Let's say bad guy pulls out a gun and shoots a guy. There is also good guy with gun at this bar. So if statistically say there's 100 people in this bar and one of those people has a gun. I wonder if statistically this one bad guy with a gun shoots this other guy, and then good guy with gun comes and shoots said bad guy, and then there's an outright shooting in the area. Now, whoever friends of bad guy, do they grab bad guy's gun and then just unload, and then this turns into, and I know I'm building a horrible hypothetical situation here, and I really apologize for that. But is that how this works now? That doesn't sound very appealing to me. That doesn't sound like it's a good idea. That doesn't sound like it's fun. That doesn't sound normal. That does not sound like a world I want to live in. But is that where we are now? Is that where we're at? Is that how this works? What a fuck. This is just, and like I said, I'm really sorry that this took a turn. And I know I just had a conversation with Richard Squires about how this, about how he wanted to hear more good news, wanted to hear more good things. So he's restoring his faith in humanity. And I don't know. I know that this is just not a pleasant thing to hear about, and I'm just continuously hammering the point, but people are dying. An officer of 31 years in Florence County, where I grew up. Like, I grew up there. I went to Florence. When I got my license, I went to Florence every day. I was about an hour from there, and I went to Florence every single day. When I got my license, I made up a reason to go to Florence, just to go, because I wanted to get out of that cotton field city that I was in, town that I was in for a little while, and go to a city, because I was a little country boy. I was a little redneck, and to me, Florence wasn't as redneck as Bennettsville was, and I wanted to go experience that every single day a little bit. And I went and did that, I saw one of my buddies, Marshall. He's a cameraman. He was doing the live shots of that community, and I texted him back, and I was like, I know exactly where this is. Like, I drove past that on my way into Florence from Bennettsville. It's just, it's outlandish to think that nobody is safe these days. Nobody is safe here. And this is a Vietnam veteran who is trying to protect his son, who is obviously grown up in an entitled household and lived a life of entitlement. And I'm not gonna bring in the what's it called? Why am I drawing a blank here? The white privilege. I'm not gonna bring in the white privilege to where my son had some accusations of some sort of a situation involving a child. Not my son. No, not my. I've raised him better than that. We're better than that. We don't do things like that. But you shoot cops. I got to get off of this subject before I lose my shit. I'm a little agitated too, because when I first started to do this podcast, I was having trouble getting the audio to work. The video feed froze up on me, and I didn't realize that it was frozen. I just knew that my audio wasn't working right, and I was just getting so mad, and I don't even know. There may have been a couple people who got to see the other little 2 or 3 minute live videos that I posted before I got this one to stick, basically. And I was just like huffing and puffing, like I had my headphones on. I could hear myself breathing in the microphone, and that's not something that's normal for me. I don't, or at least I don't usually notice it. But shit. Just started this whole thing off on an edge, and I was in the shower earlier, where all thoughts occur in the shower, I think, and I was thinking about old sermons that I used to hear, which is exactly how I started this off. And just knowing that the old preachers used to say the devil don't want nothing to do with you when you're on his side. When he's got you, he don't want you. You know, it's when you're doing good that the devil wants to get you. And you can plug that in any situation. We're doing so good. We were as a community from Florence to Marlboro, Dillon, Horry County, Marion County, all of us had pulled together and we were doing really, really good things. Really, really good to help our community. Really fantastic people coming out of the woodwork and doing amazing things. And we bragged that there was only one blemish on this, who we'll call the Sandman of this whole situation. But shit, I wish it would have stopped there, because now we have a dead cop and 3 or 4 other in critical condition. And I'm pretty sure that that article was updated, you know, within the last 5 or 6 hours. And as of last night, we've got just a regular at this bar, a Myrtle Beach native, a regular, just dead. He wanted to go to a bar to watch a UFC fight. This is where we are now. This is the world we live in. This is the kind of thing that we have to look forward to now. And I'm not saying this to erase faith or to instill fear or to create negative thoughts. I'm saying this to bring awareness to the fact that people really need to start thinking about situations. People need to think before they do things. And that was one of the biggest things that my parents used to tell me all the time, was you really need to think before you do these things instead of just doing them and figuring it out later. I've said this to a very close friend of mine, who a lot of you have heard the stories. And I'll tell this very close friend of mine, and I haven't had to in a long time, thank God. But I'll tell this friend of mine, like, hey, man, I love you to death, but please just start thinking a little bit before you say these things you say or before you do these things, because you don't understand what kind of person it makes you if you don't run this shit through your brain before you fucking say it. I'm sure if this guy, whoever was at this bar last night, I'm sure that if he would have had the thought, well, what if I actually kill this guy? What if this guy is dead because of me? What if this guy doesn't exist anymore because of what I'm about to do? I am positive if this guy had that thought clearly, outside of alcohol and all of the other things that may or may not have been involved in this guy's life or bloodstream, I feel certain that this situation would have ended differently. So I know this was a bummer, and I apologize for that, and this did go a little longer than I expected it to, but I guess I'm going to leave you with this thought. Use your head. Think. Use your conscience. Your conscience is a real thing. It's that little voice in your head that usually tells you to do the shit that you don't want to do. Listen to that voice. That voice 9 times out of 10 is not going to lead you astray. It's going to tell you the right thing to do. And usually the right thing to do is the one you don't want to do. And I know I've said that before, Cheese. Say it again. Tell your friends. Scream it from the rooftops. Do the right thing. Think. Use your brain. Our brains are the most powerful tool under the sun. Outside of anything that has been created, these computers that will remember things for until the end of time. You could put something on this computer right here, and as long as power exists, I bet in 1,000 years, if this computer is still able to do whatever it does today, it will still bring up this podcast that I'm recording for you right now that's going to be saved on the hard drive on this computer. And that's brilliant. That is great. That is just fantastic. But our brains are vastly more amazing than what this computer can do. And this computer can do some pretty fucking awesome shit. Use your brain. Use this amazing, powerful force that we have been gifted with to alter how the world works. Is that the right word? To alter the things that happen in the world. Make this a better place for us to leave for my niece and nephew, and for your children and your grandchildren and your nieces and nephews and your cousins, whoever comes after you. Leave a better place for them. And we're not doing such a good job of it right now, but I do have a pretty good idea of how we can. And that is that if you hear somebody say something like, "Oh, well, you know, if I'd have been there, I'd have probably shot the dude too," then say you're a fucking moron and you don't need to be out in public. Tell these people what you think. Don't let somebody say something stupid or whatever have you go unnoticed. Like, say the shit that you need to say to people. Don't hold back anything. I'm sorry, this might get you in trouble. This might get you in a scuffle or whatever have you. But listen, say the right things. Do the right things. Be the right people. Be a good person. Don't be a shit person. Every single day you have a choice. Every single day you have a choice to be a good person or be a shitty person. I promise you, one of those is going to leave you disappointed in the future. That was pretty good. That was pretty good right there. One of those is going to leave you disappointed in the future. The other will not. The other one might leave you disappointed right now. Like, you might do the right thing and you might be like, "Man, I hated to have to do that, but it was the right thing to do." At least in the future, you'll be like, "Well, it was the right thing to do." You don't have to like it, but you'll know that it was the right thing, and somehow that'll make it okay. All right. Sorry, I didn't mean to go all negative Nancy on you there, but what are you going to do? This is the kind of shit that's in the news. There's probably other things that I forgot. All right. As far as things to watch and listen to, I don't really think I've listened to anything new because I haven't been listening to music a lot lately. I have been watching American Horror Story Apocalypse. I know I've told you guys about that. Doctor Who started back today, the new season. Watch that. There's some really cool shit on Netflix, that scary stuff that's coming out for the month of October. Check those things out. Please go to YouTube, Kelsey Hudgens, hit subscribe. Go to Facebook, MI Stuff, like the podcast. Subscribe on Apple Podcasts. Subscribe on Google Play. I think we're on Spotify. I think so. Anyway, that's all I got for you today. I'm gonna watch a little oddly shaped sports ball here for a little while, and then we've got Atlanta Braves playoffs. Cleveland Browns missing a field goal. How you like that? Well, we got Atlanta Braves baseball coming on at 8 o'clock tonight, and this could very well be the last game of the season, but who knows? All right. Be good people. In a world full of people who choose to be shitty people, don't be those people. Be good people. All right. Love you. Mean it. Peace, bitches. All right. Now let's get some intro going in here. Hey guys, how you living? Oh, startup disk almost full. How you like that? And I'm sitting here bragging on the computer in memory. Hey guys, how you living? Are you doing well? Good. So glad to hear that. All right. So in this episode, I started off by using a church analogy about the devil. So forgive me. Also, I had a couple of messages of people bragging on the last episode, talking about it's good to hear good news, and it's good to hear in a world full of bad news. It's good to hear good news. So I had every intention of making this a feel good episode, but too much shit happened, and well, what are you going to do? I feel I called it journalistic integrity to report the news. And the news that has happened is not good news. It's the exact opposite. It's horrible news, and I had to tell the story. I had to talk about it. So I'm not gonna spoil anything that you're gonna hear in the episode because I ran on about it pretty good. But anyway, before we get to the content, I'm gonna give my shameless plugs. Please subscribe to Kelsey Hudgens YouTube. Please subscribe to on the podcast app, MI Stuff Podcast, on the Apple Podcast, Google Play. Leave reviews. Please leave reviews. Please, if you can hear this, if you hear this right now, please go to every podcast platform that I have: the Apple, Podomatic, YouTube, Facebook. Please leave reviews on all the pages. The MI Stuff Podcast page on Facebook. Please leave a review there. Leave notes on the page that people will be able to see when they come to the podcast, so they'll sort of know what it's about outside of my words explaining it to them. So please do that. Also, we're going to be having a pretty big month coming up, and October is going to be a pretty big month. We've got Nick Andalora is going to be coming back in. We've rescheduled him. Alicia Rice is going to be coming back. Alicia Brown, my apologies. Alicia Brown's going to be coming back in. And we're going to talk more about the brain and how humans react to things around them. There's somebody else who's going to be coming to. There's somebody else I got. I got it. Tony Jarvis, my buddy Tony, who you guys heard me shout out in all of the Facebook Live videos that we did over the hurricane when we were doing the hurricane jams. Tony is going to come onto the podcast, and we're going to talk about just all sorts of things. We're going to talk about how lucky we are to have great musicians in our area, which is very, very true. We are very lucky we're very lucky to have the musicians in this area that we have, and we're going to talk about that. But that podcast is going to be different for one main reason, is that instead of going YouTube live on that podcast, we're going to be doing Facebook Live. So we'll be reaching a lot more people with that episode of the podcast, and we may even be able to interact with a few people in the comment section and talk to some people basically. And depending on how well that works, we're going to be doing that more often. So anyway, I'm running into my content here. So without further ado, here's episode number 68 of My Stuff. Enjoy, motherfuckers. Let's see how bad I cut off my content. I cut off the first couple of words of it. I wasn't paying attention. Let's see here. And depending on how well that works. Wait, let's see. I still have YouTube open? Yeah, I do. I have my volume down. I didn't realize it. Without further ado, here's episode number 68 of My Stuff. Enjoy, motherfuckers. Every time it seems, I remember when. That's not bad. All right, let me drop the volume down here. Go back to there. Volume slide down to that point. Slide down there. Copy this. Let me find my all right here at the end. Where is it? Actually, we might can go before that. Let's. Nope, I was wrong. And Braves baseball today. Or is it going to be it? Shit, I don't want to do that. Got the Braves baseball today. All right. Where's a good spot to drag it in? Can do. And this computer can do some pretty fucking awesome shit. Computer can do some shit. Leave with works. Is that the right word? To alter the things that happen in the world. Make this a better place for us to leave for my niece and nephew, and for your children and your grandchildren and your nieces and nephews and your cousins, whoever comes after you. Leave a better place for them. And we're not doing such a good job of it right now, but I do have a pretty good idea of how we can. And that is that if you hear somebody say something like, oh, well, you know, if I'd have been there, I'd very well be the last game of the season, but who knows? I really hope that it's not the last game of the season. You guys probably see the disappointment on my face as soon as I heard myself say that. All right. Okay, so we got this done. Is that fine? Bring up the audio a little bit, because when I MP3 it down, it takes a little bit off the top. Be good people. In a world full of people who choose to be shitty people, don't be those people. File, save, share, export, my stuff, episode 68. This is why we can't have nice things talk. That's what we're going to call it. My stepmom used to say, it was Kathy's birthday. Happy birthday, Kathy. This is why we can't have nice things. She used to say that all the time when I was a kid. I was such a badass kid. I was such an asshole. Save. All right, well, we got everything coming out. I'm going to upload this to the audio version. Thank you guys for watching. Seriously, I love you, whoever you are out there. I love you. If you're watching this, I love you. Be a good person, because somebody out there loves you, and that person is me. I'm sorry I'm not better looking. All right, that's all I got for you. Seriously, be good people. Share this video. So get people to subscribe to this nonsense so that I can have more than just myself to talk to here. See you on the flip side, bitches.